Hello friends, welcome to the farm.
Today we're going to answer some questions a lot of you have asked. We're going to talk about our irrigation system.
Okay, so we bought the farm 6 years ago, and I remember we had a big vision, but not really a plan.
Yeah. We had a vision, but weren't sure what we were doing, so we just kind of winged it.
Yeah, we started off, got the tractor out here, making the big garden, and I remember how exciting it was when we first put the plants in the ground. And then, what? We had to water.
Then I'm standing there watering all the plants. Took a long time.
We knew that wasn't going to work. I think after 2 or 3 days of that, we figured,
well, we got to figure out this irrigation system. We knew there was a system out there, something that would work, but we had no idea how to do it.
yeah, and to be honest, it was a little intimidating. Irrigation system, all these lines and parts and hydraulics and water control, and how much water. I mean, it was confusing.
Yeah.
And I didn't really want to tear into it, but absolutely necessary, we did.
Yeah.
Okay, so we have an irrigation system in our market garden outside here and in the tunnel behind us, and I think you have some for your willow
The
too.
willow beds I'm starting, I have irrigation out there too.
Yeah, so this is really an agricultural system. It's kind of an entry-level system. We'll go into a lot more detail on that. But if you're at home and you're wondering if an irrigation system is for you, yeah, absolutely. And they make very simple systems and kits that you can buy. If you just go to your favorite hardware store or even a big box store, they have a kit of all of the supplies, and it is a drip line system, smaller gauge system with less parts and it's less flow. It's designed for smaller gardens. So if you have a couple raised beds or even like a 15 by 20 or 25 bed, then you probably just need a drip line system.
And it's actually better for your plants because, I mean, you can stand under water overhead, but your plants are constantly getting wet. And some things like tomatoes, that's how you can get some fungus. It's better if the water's going right into the roots. And you don't have to water as much because it's not evaporating. It's going right to the roots. So it's worth looking into, even if you have a small garden.
Yeah, it uses less water and it's actually better for the plants. So whether it's small garden or big garden or agricultural, you know, I think the irrigation system's the way to go.
It'll make your life easier and it's better.
Well, we just talked about all the benefits of irrigation system, but just a quick warning. Systems are designed to be safe, but if you don't follow the directions, then it can be a hazard. And one area is, you know, you have water flowing out into your garden in the sun, and then when you stop, there's water laying in all the tubing. And if you don't have your system set up correctly, the water that's in the tubing, has a potential to siphon back in to your house, particularly if you're on a residential setup. Now, all these kits come with what they call a backflow preventer, or it's a check valve, and it just makes sure that the water that goes out in your garden in the piping doesn't go back in your house. So then you're completely safe. But just be sure to follow the directions. Now, if you're doing a commercial system, you have to buy a separate check valve, so that's one thing to be aware of. And then we learned the hard way a couple times early on, didn't we? I know I did anyway, where I left the system on and then I forgot about it and it went on and on.
Yeah, I did that several times. Then I learned there were timers.
Yes. Yeah, timers can help save you a lot of money and or maybe potentially save your crops.
Yeah, because some things don't want that much water.
Yeah.
Luckily, I never killed any plants, but I did waste some water in the beginning.
Yeah. So simple systems like we're talking about here, you can buy a timer for $15 at the hardware store, and it can save you a lot of aggravation and give you peace of mind if you wake up in the middle of the night. Did I turn that off or not? You know?
Speaking from experience. For our garden, all the water for the garden comes in through the hydrant right outside the front of the garden. So I turn that on and it comes right into a system right here. It's like the hub where all the water splits to where it's supposed to go.
So it comes in from a garden hose, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's what feeds it, a water hose from the hydrant to the hub. And then there's a bunch of equipment at the hub that Donnie can tell you more about, but it splits it into 4 zones. We have our garden split into 4 quadrants, 2 in the front, 2 in the back. And I water them not at the same time. Like I'll have one on for a half hour, 45 minutes, then the next one, And again, I have timers. I set the timers for roughly 45 minutes. Now, if it rains, of course, out here, I don't have to do anything. The rain takes care of it. But if it doesn't rain, I have to decide, how hot is it? How much do you think the plants really want? Are they growing well? You kind of have to gauge how much water they need.
So what happens if you get like 1 inch of rain from a thunderstorm? You don't do it that day. What about the next day or the next day?
Feel the soil. I would feel the soil, see how wet it is. But if it's really hot, like today's in the 90s, I'd still do it the next day, just because the plants, it cools them down a little bit too, having the irrigation running. So, and I have things set up in such a way, some of the beds have 3 lines going out, some have 2 lines going out, some only have 1. It depends what plants and how they're set up, how much I need going out each row. So what
do you do later in the season if you've harvested all of them in that bed? How do you keep, or do you just water them?
Each bed has, each irrigation line has these handy little spigots you can turn off and on. So in the spring, before I'm growing anything there, I have it off. But once everything's going, almost every single line is open. Then as it's harvested, I can turn each line off individually. So it's great. It's really control, what you want to water and how much you want to water. For instance, this garden right here is celery, and celery needs a lot of water. So I have a line on each row, and I have 3 rows of celery. So in this row, there are 3 separate drip lines going out. And I'm actually probably going to be giving the celery even extra water from time to time because it needs a lot of water. I've never excelled at celery, and I think it's because I didn't water enough. So this year, it's going to be getting even hand watered extra. But then right next to this is a row of lavender, and I only have 1 line. Lavender doesn't like to be very wet, so I only have 1 irrigation line on all my lavender rows. When I have a real high-tech system, how I keep the drip lines where I want them. You can buy handy little metal stakes that go down into the ground and hold them in place, but I'm afraid, well, first of all, they get rusty and yucky, but I'm going to leave them in the garden. I'm going to have metal in the garden, so I end up just using wood sticks. We always have wood chips in the garden. There's always sticks around. So I just find sticks, stick it in, and holds the drip tape where I want. And Donnie, when he's raised bed, cut notches in them so the drip tapes will stay in the notch. So it works. I keep the drip tape on the plant where I want it.
Okay, so what happens if you have it all laid out and it's functioning, and then you change what you're growing in there and you decide you need more lines? How do you handle that?
Then you add more of those handy little spigots and you have more lines. You can do as many as you want on each row. Now, they're hard for me to poke. I'll have Donnie show you how he pokes one in because they're kind of hard to poke in. He pokes them in and then I can take it from there.
Yeah, it's really convenient. You don't have to cut the line and put in like a T or some kind of fitting.
It's just a matter of poking the hole, putting the faucet in, and then I come along and hook the drip tape up, see how long I need it to be, tap off the end with a special little method, and then make sure it's not leaking anywhere.
Okay, so what happens when you have a leak? Well, first of all, how do you know, and then how bad is it?
That's what I do first thing in the spring. We're unusual in that we don't take everything in the winter. Some people roll up all their irrigation and take it in. We don't. That just seems like too much work. Plus, we've had great success. A lot of things, they do fine. They don't get hurt. Now, the drip tape, that is what I do in the spring. I go through line by line. I start with all of them closed. And one by one, I turn them on, see if there's a leak. If there's a leak, I have to replace it.
Well, how do you know there's a leak?
You'll see psh, water flying out.
Okay.
Or you'll hear it. You can actually hear when there's
like how much water? I don't understand. How much water?
You'll see it, and it makes a puddle. I mean, it's going to be too much water, and you're not getting enough to the rest of the plants.
Okay.
Now, I've started this year experimenting with taping. If they're just little geysers, I'm taping them shut, and it's working. But if it's a big, full-out tear in the hose,
okay, but it's not like a hydrant and a street blew and you have water running everywhere. The whole system still works.
Yeah, and you have to make sure once in a while the end comes off, and you have water running out the end of the hose, out the end of the drip line. So I have to, like, in the spring, I'm checking and listening and watching every line to make sure there are no leaks, that it's doing what I want it to do, and replacing what I need to replace. But I'd say we only have to replace maybe 25, maybe 30% of the lines every spring. So this saves a lot of time and a lot of money.
So are there any disadvantages you can think of an irrigation system?
One is just when you're working around the plants. If you're cutting something or weeding or digging, you got to be careful of the drip tape. You don't want to dig right through the drip tape or it's going to leak. So you just have to be a little bit cautious where it is and remember that it's there.
But it's not real fragile, is it?
No, it's pretty tough, but if you take a spade and drive right down through it, you'll cut it.
Yeah. Do you know, like...
I've done just about everything. I know when I cut my asparagus, I cut through the drip tape. So you just have to be careful.
Okay. So what if you have some plants or even a bush or something that needs more attention? How do you handle that?
Well, in here we don't have any what are they called, drip emitters?
Yes.
There's special things you can get. Describe those.
Yeah. Yeah, there's many other options other than drip tape, but they make individual like 1/4-inch lines with a single emitter that you can plant right at the root of a larger, you know, some kind of a bush or something that needs, like pumpkins. If you want to just water the hill where it is, you can direct it right to the root of pumpkin plants.
We have all drip tape, and if I have something that needs watered extra, like my celery, I'm just going to take the hose, and we have a hose set up in the front of the garden and in the back. So I have a hose everywhere I need to reach. And I do the celery, and then things like seeds. When you're putting seeds in, you can try to line the drip tape up where the seed is, but sometimes I can't always remember where I planted exactly. So I water the seeds with the hose until they're up. And then I use my fancy technique to keep the drip tape on the plant. But for seeds, I do have to water them every morning until they come up.
Okay, some people ask, since all the drip tape and the lines are black, is the water very hot that comes out? Because you know, like if you have a garden hose in the backyard and it's laying there, it's full of water and it gets steamy hot, is that going to burn your plants?
No, it comes out a little bit warm, but when you're empty, when you turn the water off, they empty out completely. So it's just the empty hose. There's no water laying in there heating up. And a lot of the lines in my garden, the main line going through is buried, and a lot of my gardens end up buried under mulch. So they're not heating up that much. So I don't have any problem with it now.
Okay. Hey, what's that plant right there in front of you?
This is Baptistia. It's a native plant of Pennsylvania, also called false indigo. I started just from seeds like 6 years ago, and now I'm starting a whole bunch more because it's amazing. It's beautiful.
Wow. Okay, some people look at the drip tape when it's empty and it looks like it's kinked all over. How does the water get through? Is it okay?
Sometimes there's little bends in it, but as soon as the water starts to fill this up, it straightens out. And I didn't mention, at the end of every row, I have rocks, big heavy rocks or sandbags, and I pull the lines tight once I get them where I want, and they stay where I want them to be. Once in a while I have to go through, there's a really big kink, and I'll go through and just pull it tight again. But for the most part, the water will push it straight when it opens up.
Cool. Okay, so you have drip tape between each one of these, the fruit bushes. Do you put the emitters up or down?
I think they're supposed to be up, and I'd say 99% of mine are up. Once in a while it'll flip, and I do try to cover as much as possible. You see the wood chips are completely over it, and even the plants where it's up now, you see it, as I mulch it throughout the season, it's going to be covered. By the end of the season, pretty much all the drip tape is covered. It just goes under everything and hits the plants it needs to hit.
So you can be assured that it's still continuing to, you know, feed water to the plants, even though you can't see it, it's under the mulch?
Well, it will. If you see a plant start to die, you might want to look into it. But for the most part, if it stays covered and nothing's hurting it, it works the whole season and beyond. So I have no problem. All my honeyberries are doing great. I actually see a little honeyberry, I think.
Cool. Okay, now that we showed you the operation of the irrigation system in the garden, we talked about the difference between a residential system. Now this is the kind of an entry-level agricultural system. And we don't have time to do a proper, you know, how-to, so I'm going to just cover a few of the elements of it to give you a flavor of what is all involved. Well, we moved to the farm, we knew we needed an irrigation system. We put in the irrigation system, we were all excited about that, and then boom, the system used so much water that our well
We had it hooked up to the same well as the house because it was the only well on the property.
Yeah. So soon we ran out of water with the house, which is not good. And we realized we needed to drill a second well just for all of our agricultural operations. So we drilled a well, it ended up at what, 800 feet, and we got a water supply that we needed. But beyond that, then we needed to get the water distributed all around the property through the market garden and the high tunnel. And then we have several, like 3 patches where we grow sweet corn and others, and we needed hydrants there. And like right here too, behind us, we have a hydrant that is a redundancy for the pasture behind us if the other system runs out. So the cheapest way to get the pipe around, and it's a 1 1/4 well pipe, and we had to run it about 650, 700 feet all around the property, and it had to go down below 30 inches to be below the frost line.
We're in Pennsylvania, south central Pennsylvania.
The cheapest way to do that is to rent a trencher or a ditch witch and to run it on a skid steer. We don't have a skid steer, but we had a retired farmer down the road that did, so we enlisted his help, and we were able to do about 90 or 95% of it. And the last 5% was pretty tough because we ran into some huge limestone rocks.
We're in limestone territory. It almost always happens.
Yeah. So again, we wanted to put 7 frost-free hydrants around. And that's really the key, the frost-free. You can keep them on all year round. The key element to it is when you open it, the water comes out. But when you shut it off, there's a drain down under the frost line. And you can see in the photographs here, there's a bed of stone below the hydrant. So all the water goes down out of the riser pipe, goes into the ground, so it's frost-free.
You can use them all winter long.
Yeah, and that's essential because, with animals, and sometimes you do need to water.
I have a little bit of lavender in the tunnel, and you can't hook a hose up to it because the water in the hose will freeze. You just keep the hydrant open, fill up buckets, and water. You can water all winter long.
Yep. So we did the well, we put the distribution line all around the property, and then with the well beside it, we did a well pit, and where we put all the equipment and to operate the well. And while we had that, we built a butterfly hut on top of it for
Had to
Brenda.
put something on top of the well pit, right?
Yeah. So now we have water all around the property, and it's up to us to connect into our irrigation system. And fortunately, it's easy, the connection. You just hook a hose onto the frost-free hydrant. And then it runs into the head of the irrigation system. And that essentially is a timer and just a simple on-off valve. And then there's a pressure reducer, because you can't have 50, 60, 70 PSI water running through your irrigation system. Everything would blow. So you have a pressure reducer, and then you also have a check valve.
We're fortunate. We live near a produce supplier that sells everything, and they were able to talk us through some of this and help us out a lot.
Yeah, and they supply produce farmers in the 3-state area here, so they helped us design the whole system. So just to give you a flavor of what is involved, coming out of the hydrant, you have a hose that goes through the head, which we just explained, and then you have your distribution line, which is a 5/8 poly, and this stuff is very light. It's but it's pretty sturdy and it's hard. This is what distributes the water to each one of the drip lines that you put in, the drip tape, I should say. Now, when it comes to drip tape, there are several different options, and it's best to buy these in 5,000 and 6,000 foot spools like this, much cheaper per linear foot. So we have 2 types here. They look the same when you initially look at them, but they're not. They're very different. The one here on the left is a much heavier gauge. It's designed to last for 3 years. This one is a lighter gauge, and we primarily use this one. It's designed for 1 year. However, as Brenda said earlier,
we get more than 1 year. We get 2, 3 years out of it.
Now, if you look at the drip tape, you'll see that there's the engineering specs on each one of them. What your GPM flow is per 100 feet.
Gallons per minute.
Yep, and where the emitters are. Now this one has a little slit emitter every 24 inches. So it's not as dense of a water supply as this one, which has emitters every 6 inches. So typically with the veg that we grow, we use this one every 6 inches, and it seems to put pretty much a straight line of water the whole way through.
It does everything we grow.
Yep. So to connect these two, though, you buy in groups of 100 here. It's just a simple valve here with a little knob, and it punctures into the side of your distribution line. Before you push it in, there's a little tool that'll pop and make a hole, or you have a drill with the proper size bit for your valve, and you just slide it in, and the friction and a little knob on here keeps it from popping out. Now the advantage of these is not only it gets the water from this line to the drip tape, but it also comes with a 1/4 turn shut-off valve.
Yeah, like I said, I can turn off any line I want and turn on any line I want separately.
Yeah. So your custom system, and then at the end of the drip tape, it's really a very simple matter of just folding up the drip tape in 2 or 3 ways, and then this right here, you just cut it into little pieces and you slide it in. Like we have one right here, and it just slides right in. You don't need any other high-tech equipment. It just, boom, slides in. And because it's only operating at 15 pounds per square foot, it won't pop the end off, at least most of the time.
Yeah, I just have to be careful. When I have the rocks on it, sometimes if I pull on it, the rock will pull that off. So it can come off if you pull hard enough, but most of the time it's fine.
So a very simple system, but it's very efficient. And then just briefly, we have one other area here where we can do overhead irrigation. This screws on to the male end of our hydrants around the property, and we connect it to 1.5 inch. This is lay flat hose, and it provides a good supply. And you can see on the bottom here the connectors, and the water goes straight through, and some of it will go up. And up top here we have a sprinkler, which provides overhead. And we have 3 of these, and this will do about 1/2 acre.
And we'll be using it in our sweet corn.
Yeah, so this is just 2 simple areas. There's many other options out there, but it just gives you an idea of how we set it up. And it was intimidating at first, but once you get into it, it's really very simple, isn't it?
And then once you get it set up, it's a breeze. I actually have one row here, my asparagus row, where I only have 1 drip tape, and I'd like to have 2. So I'm going to have Donnie add one. He'll show you how we do this. He's going to poke the hole in the main line, and then put in the, what do you call it? I call it a faucet. Turns the water off and on. And it's in. One thing I don't recommend is planting these wild crazy daylilies at the end of your beds, because it makes it hard. So I fed the line through the thing, and now I just have to stick it on the end of the faucet.
It's a valve for those.
As far as it goes, the thing opens up so it screws back. You stick it on as far as you go, and then you screw it tight again so it locks it in, hopefully. If it's not locked in, you know it. It pops right off. Now I'll just see how long I need the line to be to the end, and I'll have a drip tape ready. And usually when I'm doing a bunch of these, I have a setup on my golf cart where the tube is on it, and I just pull the irrigation line off, but I only have 1 line to do, so.
So you have a broomstick or a shovel that goes through the center, and then you make a roll.
Yep. Works a lot better than this. See how long I need it? I'll cut it off, put the end on, and I'll be in business.
So you just cut that with regular scissors?
Anything, just cut it. And I usually loop it 3 times. And then the fancy end piece.
And that's just a tube of the 5/8 supply tube.
And then I'll put a heavy rock here to hold it in place. And we're going to turn it on, make sure it works.
Well, thank you for joining us on our irrigation story. We'll see you in our next video.
Right now we got to go bale some hay.